All right, hi everybody, John Meadows here, and we did a video a while back on how hard should you train, and we did a chest video, and everybody seemed to like it. I tried to give really clear instruction on my thoughts on training chest, and everybody liked it so much, I thought, well, we'll just expand this out to other body parts, because there are some differences between the body parts that you're training. So today, right now, we're warming up on legs. So we're going to do legs. So how hard should you train legs? As we're going through the video, I'll talk about a little bit more about if you're a beginner, if you're more advanced, if you're natural, if you're not natural. I'll try to give you some ideas that you can implement in your programs so you know a little bit more on how hard you should train. So just stay tuned. You know, this is going to be a tough one for us, but this is going to be a brutal workout. But stay tuned, and we'll try to get into some more specifics as we go. All right, so I love to start legs with leg curls, whether it be seated or lying. I think it prepares you. Number one, it gives you a lot of focus on your hamstrings. But number two, it really prepares you for your base movement, which is coming up next, which will be a squat or a leg press. Today we're going to try a squat. Now, how hard should you do these leg curls? I think people make a massive mistake by going easy on their leg curls. I learned my intensity from Tom Platz directly, so I want to give him all the credit first of all. I never used to see anybody doing anything crazy on a leg curl. And when I started implementing partials and drop sets and a lot of those things that you do on other body parts, I saw immediate growth in my hamstrings. They got a lot better. So what we typically do here for an intermediate to advanced athlete is want to do one or two. Now we've already done 4 or 5 warm-up sets. We're going to do 1 or 2 hard sets of about 8, and then our last set's going to be a real tough one. So right now we're getting ready to do our first work set. It's going to be, kind of a tough 8, but you're leaving reps in the tank. If you're a beginner, you don't really need all the crazy stuff. Just do a couple sets of 8 right here. One thing I want to talk about real quickly, these aren't really form videos, but I do want to mention this. A lot of people tell you to drive your hips into the pad to really focus on your hamstring contractions. I know that's the popular thing, and I used to do that myself, but I think that's a bad idea. I don't know that it's good for your spine. So I've gotten away from that. Now, you don't want your hips to shoot off the pad, obviously, but in the last year or two, I've really gotten away from trying to drive your hips into the pad. I think it's a bad idea. Doesn't feel good on your lower back. So that's one thing I've gotten away from. I've gotten away from all these different cues, 10 cues before you even do the work. I went back to just keeping it simple. Keep your body tight and focus on your hamstrings. Stop worrying about flexing your quads. Stop worrying about pushing your hips into the pad. Just get your body in a really good position, stay tight, and just focus on your hamstrings, as simple as that. So I did want to mention that because you hear conflicting information on that. So anyways, that's what I'm doing with my form here. I'm just staying tight, and I'm putting all my focus in my hamstrings. I might flex my abs a little to keep my core tight, but even that won't be super hard. Okay? All right, so now, how hard should you train? This is going to be a really, really challenging set of leg curls. I'm going to incorporate some drops, some partials, an iso hold. You only need 1 set like this. Any more than that would be overkill. One crazy hard set. If you're a beginner, don't do it. If you're beyond the beginning stage, go ahead. Push yourself. Let's see what you can do. So last set. Here we go. Ooh, that hurt. So now this is our base movement. This is our squat, and the goal is to use precise form, particularly with compound movements like this. Movements that require a lot of precision, like you have to be really good with your form. If your form goes, that's when people get injured. The reason why I'm telling you that is because the intensity, how hard should you train on these, it's dialed back a notch. So I don't want you going to failure to the point where you literally drop the bar. That's too much risk versus reward. So what we want to do is we want to work up with perfect form to a heavy target number. Maybe it's 6 reps, maybe it's 8 reps, maybe it's 10. Where the last rep is pretty tough, but it's okay to leave a rep in reserve on a movement like this. It's safer. We're going to save the crazy stuff for after this. But right now, this is where you really want to focus on progressive overload, trying to add a little bit more weight, a little bit more reps. That won't work forever, but still you want that to be kind of the base concept of why you're doing this second movement. So if you're a beginner, the same rules applies if you're advanced. You still want to work up to a tough set, but your form has to be perfect. That's really it for the squat. So that's what we're doing now. We're working up to a tough set of 8. Now we're using a transformer bar. That bar, this bar right here, I really love too. This is a spider bar. You don't have to use a bar like this. You could use a regular barbell. We just like these because honestly, it just feels more comfortable, particularly on my back. So, but you can use a regular barbell, spider bar, safety squat bar, transformer bar. Any bar will really work. Just use whichever you feel the best. One other thing I want to mention when you're on this base exercise is to take your time. All right, you don't want to start your next set with completely out of breath. Your cardiorespiratory system will give out before your muscular system does. That's not good for muscle growth. So remember, you want to be strong. We want to be powerful in these. So take your time. Don't rush your sets. The general rule of thumb is 3 minutes rest between sets right here. That's not going to apply to every exercise you do at every point of workout, but on these where we're really focused on strength and moving some good weight, take your time, 3-minute breaks.
Come on. Come on.
Oh, there we go. Right there. Get set. Control. 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 Good. There we go. Come on. Control. That's it. Stay tight. Control. Good. Come on. Up. Good. 4 more. Come on. Up. Stay tight. Control. Good. 2 more. Come on. Up. 1 more. Come on. Up. Yeah. Good, Racket. All right, so we finished up our squats. That was fun. That's kind of the easy stuff, the heavy sets. But it's fun. But this is even more fun because now we're going to test your pain tolerance. So now what we're doing is we're doing a leg press. The reason why we're using this machine is because we're going to work up to a drop set. Using a machine like this, you can safely do a drop set. Or if you were trying it with something like squats, you get a little tired, your form goes, boom, you're injured. But particularly in this leg press, it's a hip press actually. It's designed really well. So what we're doing is we're going to do a couple feeder sets of low reps to get up to our tough weight of 8, and then we're going to do a drop set. The idea behind a drop set, by the way, if you haven't seen our drop set video, what I think of them, check out the drop set video. But the goal is, we've activated the muscle, we've loaded the muscle with heavy weight, now we want to fatigue the muscle fibers. So we want to load them and we want to fatigue them. It's not just important to load the fibers. If that was the case, then all these crazy powerlifters that are doing 800-900 pounds would be massive on their squats. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But my point is, it's not just a matter of load. You also have to fatigue the muscle fibers. So this is a very efficient way to do it. You can do essentially 3 sets in 1. Very painful, very tough. There's also a lot going on with metabolites and things like that to help you grow. But whether you're natural, not natural, doesn't matter. To me, I think you should work up to a tough set here. The difference is, just gauge how sore you get. If you get incredibly sore, really, really sore, 3, 4, 5 days, you probably did a little too much, so back it down. But remember, I'm gonna say this over and over. For my natural guys out there, it doesn't mean you don't go hard. It just means you watch your volume and you be careful with your volume. But you still have to do quality sets where you dig down deep. Remember, you have a harder time growing, so gotta go hard. So we're just doing a feeder set here. The next set's gonna be the hard set. Okay, so this is the work set. I'm doing 2 drops. Ideally, you wanna drop 20 or 30% a pop. I don't know if that math is exactly right on this, but I know this is gonna be about right for me. The first drop, I always like to be a little bigger than the second drop, just because you start to fatigue so fast. So, and this machine is incredibly smooth. It's really easy on your back. Even if your butt comes up, the position of the back pad, it just saves your back. You feel nothing in your back, nothing in your knees. But here we go. All right, boys.
Let's get it.
Let's go.
Let's go. Everything you got, let's go. Come on. Let's go, push it. Nice. Come on.
Okay, pull.
Come on, drive.
Come on, all right, let's go.
Come on.
Okay, pull.
You got it. Come on. Come on. Keep going. Keep pushing. Good. Good.
Come on,
Keep
you
it
got more.
going. Keep it going. You got more. Let's go.
Come on.
Keep it going. Come on.
That's good.
Good
Gosh. Ooh. All right, so we did the leg press to jam tons of blood into the muscle. Now, what I like to do then is use a machine that allows you to stretch. So we're going to use a pendulum squat here. You could use a hack squat. There's several machines you could use, but we're getting really deep and we're stretching the quad now that it's full of blood. Now, there's no reason to do a bunch of warm-up sets here. At this point, if you're not warmed up, you're in trouble. So what I'm going to do here is kind of a feeler set, just to feel how the weight works, or I'm sorry, just to feel how, just to kind of see how the weight feels. And then we're going to do a cluster set. So if you're a beginner, there's no need to do the crazy stuff. Just a 1 or 2 sets to really stretch the muscle, nothing to failure is good. If you're intermediate to advanced, you know, this is for you. This is for you. This is the time to put the high intensity technique in there. And natural, not natural, doesn't matter. What would matter is if you're natural, you're not going to want to accumulate too much fatigue and volume, so you don't want to do multiple sets here. You kind of want to get in and get out. But if you're not natural, you could probably afford to do a set or 2 extra here to get up to your cluster set. So we're going to do a feeler set here, and then we're going to unleash on the cluster set. Okay, so last set, cluster set. Your legs should be demolished after this set. So remember too, you got to stretch the quad. That's the name of the game at this point in the workout. So. No. One more. Two.
Come on, baby. Come on. Another one. Come on, finish. I got you. Come on, baby. Come on. Finish.
All right, so again, back by popular demand. Alexander, what are we doing today?
Plastic whip.
Plastic whip. Okay, let's see what that is. Okay, so we finished quads. Now, just like we did on the pendulum, stretching our quads, now we're going to stretch our hamstrings with a stiff-legged deadlift. This, I would treat like we did the squat. It's a compound movement that you need very precise form on. So I don't want you going all the way to failure. If your back bends wrong, you can hurt yourself. So just like we did on the squat, so leave a rep or 2 in a tank. 2 sets here is plenty. If we were doing something crazy all out, it would only be one set, but again, this isn't the kind of exercise you want to do that on. We actually went crazy on a leg curl, so you actually did get a set in like that for blood flow. So now we're focused on more of a stretch for our hams. We're coming up all the way and flexing our glutes. So hams and glutes. This is just a feeder set here just to feel the weight. But we're working up to 2 sets of 10. Good for beginners, good for everybody. There's really no changes in this for what level you're at. Okay, that's it for legs. It's tough. I feel exhausted. A lot of people will tell you, you shouldn't feel dead when you leave the gym. You should have a ton of energy. I don't know. I kind of beg to differ when it comes to leg training. When you're intermediate or advanced, you've got to push really hard. Here's a couple things I've noticed over the years. With legs, the tough sets hurt. There's a lot of pain involved, like the drop set and leg press, the cluster set we did on the pendulum squat. They're tough, so you have to have a high pain tolerance. It's not as bad when you're doing like your chest or your biceps. That's why you see a lot of guys that quite frankly don't have the legs, is it takes a different mindset. Okay, it takes a different mindset. There's a lot of pain involved. And when it starts hurting, you can't say, okay, I'm done. You got to keep working through it. Driving blood in there, loading the muscle fibers. As you fatigue, your muscle fibers still see a heavy load. Anyways, that's the biggest difference between training legs and other body parts is you just have to push through pain. I know it sounds simple, but if there was one thing I could tell people, it's to build great legs, it's going to take some pain tolerance. And when you guys start feeling the pain, that's when the light switch should come on. Okay, it's time to push. I don't care if you're natural, I don't care if you're not natural. That's the switch that flips. Okay, now it's time to go. Now it's time to earn my legs. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it helps you kind of structure what you're doing, help you understand when to throw in them hard sets, to do them strategically and not mindlessly. That's really it. I'm fully exhausted. I'm gonna chill out, I'm gonna get a bite to eat. But if you have any more questions on leg training and where you're at and how hard you should be going, just put them below and I'll answer them. Thanks for watching, appreciate your support as always, and we'll see you next time.